Okay, Monet, you ain't gonna.
Nope, I owed you that one. I had to leave you hanging.
Oh, okay.
Now we're even.
Very well. Mm, whoa, that's pretty. What's that? All right. Pull it up. Okay, Councilwoman Neville is here. We can get started now. All right, Joe, go ahead. I'm gonna call the Dumfries Town Council meeting of Tuesday, July 7th, 2020 to order. Roll call, please. Town manager, can you take the roll? You on mute. You on mute. You gotta unmute and take the roll.
Sorry about that. Councilwoman Willis,
Here.
Councilman Brewer, Councilwoman Miles,
Present.
Councilwoman Neville,
Finally present.
Vice Mayor Nickerson,
Here.
Councilman Fields, and Mayor Wood.
Here. Looks like we have a quorum. We have 5 out of 7 here. This is great. If you'll all join me for a moment of silent prayer and reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next on our agenda is the adoption of our agenda. And our agenda includes a presentation tonight. It includes several action items and some introductory items and a closed session. Is there anything anybody needs to add or take away from the agenda? Town manager, did you have anything to add? Anything?
No, sir. Other than Mr. Singh is still having some technical difficulties, so we're trying to get him in, but he's having some technical difficulties.
Okay. All right. Councilwoman Mouse.
Yes, Mayor. I just want to make a small change to the agenda, and it's minor. The final item on the agenda that we got, the revised agenda that the town manager sent out on, I believe, on Saturday or Friday, I don't remember, was the Confederate Court item.
Is this the one posted on the website?
Is it the same one, town manager? That included the Confederate Court item?
Yes, under introductory item number C.
Okay, I just wanted to see if we could know that that was an item that Councilwoman Neville had been working with the town on for about a year. If we could add her name to that agenda item.
Yes, ma'am. Her name is present.
Okay. The copy I had didn't have this. I just wanted to have that note. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Is the volume on the TV? We just want to make sure that the volume is on YouTube and TV as we move forward, because I just got a message said that they can't hear us on TV. So I just want to get a thumbs up on that. Okay, and I see Mr. Singh is here. Let me say thanks. All right. Is that an affirmative, town manager? Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, we have Joseph here working on it. If it was an error, we'll get it squared away.
Okay. Yep. There's no volume. YouTube is having a little bit of issues. So hold on one second. We just want to make sure that the public can hear us. So give us a second to get the our volume situated and see if he give me the thumbs up once they can hear us. Let me know. So they didn't hear your spirited discussion there, Councilor. So we're still at the beginning anyway. We have not adopted the agenda. Welcome to the audience, Mr. Singh.
I'm here, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you'll be up next after we adopt the agenda.
Sure.
Okay. We're just trying to make sure our volume and our audio, we stopped broadcasting. Okay, so we're back up. I can hear it, but we can start streaming the video again. All right. Thank you. So we've already did the roll call. We've had our moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Now we're going to adopt the agenda. I welcome a motion from the floor to adopt our agenda.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved by Councilwoman Miles. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt the agenda? Councilwoman Neville.
Yes, I just want to clarify that we are adopting the amended agenda that was sent out that Councilwoman Miles referred to.
Okay. And she added, and what was added to the amended agenda for the record?
For the record, the Planning Commission appointment and Ginn Park Ball Court dedication resolutions, and my name next to introductory item C.
Which is to rename Confederate Court to Liberty Lane.
Right.
Okay. Got it. All right. So the motion on the floor is to adopt the amended agenda. Is that right, Councilwoman Miles?
Yes.
And it's second by Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
All right, just wanted to confirm. Is there any further discussion to adopt the amended agenda, adding those items? All right, seeing no further discussion, we're going to call for the question. There's a motion to adopt the amended agenda by Councilwoman Miles. It's been second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Councilwoman Willis. You got to unmute.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Okay, Councilwoman Neville.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
And that's a yes from me. The motion carries 5-0. All right, next on our agenda is a presentation for the Town Center Development Proposal from our longtime friend and developer of the town of Dumfries, Mr. P. Singh. Welcome to tonight's council meeting. The floor is yours for your presentation, sir.
Well, thank you for giving me the time. I really appreciate the town manager's initiative to make this happen today. Let me start off by saying thank you, you all, the councilmen, not for what is happening at the First Town Center project, but what I want to talk about for just a second or two is thank you. Thank you for funding the police department. I have been part of this community for years and years. And guess what? Like any other human being, I also met with an accident in the town. And what I want to tell the people of the town of Dumfries is that community policing does work. Our chief of police and his staff were very helpful in attending to my accident. They personally took care of me and made the pain and suffering a little easier because I knew I was around people who I had known on a face-to-face basis, and that does help. So I want to emphasize once again that, dear fellow citizens, talk to the police. Don't be afraid of them. They're your friends. They're on your side, and it's always good to know. And I want to say thank you to the town council for supporting our police department for the last many, many years. With that said, I want to talk about the First Town Center project. I'm going to not rewind the video, but just start off by saying that earlier this year in 2020, we have a new staff on board. And I do want to say with Will Capers and Janae White's direction, we have been able to move this project forward. In that process, I spent many weeks with them on various issues, as well as I also personally attended the Main Street Development Initiative, which was sponsored by the town. And I listened to it. With all the input we got from there, we now have come up with what we believe is an opportunity for the town to revitalize Main Street. When I use the word revitalize, not what Pete wants to make it, but what the town staff, as well the people who attended those seminars, which were held earlier this year with AECOM, to make it happen. And I really appreciate their time as well. What we are proposing is something which is within the comprehensive plan of the town of Dumfries. We want to make town a destination. And as mayor, you've often pointed it out, let's have people drive to the town instead of driving through it. And that's what the motivation is here. In that process, working with the staff and also presenting our preliminary designs to the Planning Commission as well as the ARB, we got encouraged that, yes, this time around, it's going to happen. Unfortunately, for the last 90 days or so, things have been a little slow because of the pandemic. And I am sure we all will survive out of it and survive better. And all I want to say is, please, ladies and gentlemen, be safe and take care of yourself. And learning for me to use the video is a new thing as well, like any one of you. With that said, the town center project is on Main Street. It consists of 3 buildings, about 2,800 square feet of ground floor retail / commercial space. And as many of you have often said, hey, we need an eating place. And that commitment to create an eating place within this complex is there. And we have dedicated one particular corner, which is right across the Williams Ordinary on this side of the street as a place where people can congregate, because in the opposite side of the Williams Ordinary, there's also an open park. So with that said, that's where we believe a good restaurant can go in. The restaurant will be located on the ground floor. Plus, it will have about somewhere between 8 to 10 different outlets of various types. Those outlets, of course, will be in compliance with the uses in accordance with the B2 zoning. It is a little bit premature to say what use will go where, but I can assure you with the investment which is made, it will be pleasing, and certain types of uses will not be encouraged in the plaza. There on the upper floors, we have about 260 plus or minus bedrooms, apartments. These apartments are designed for rental use, and a package has been sent out to the town manager's office, which I'm sure he's going to distribute, will give you some colored renderings of what we are talking about. The parking in this thing is in the rear of the building structures so that they're not that openly visible from Main Street. The parking will be dedicated to the various types of uses we have. For example, we have dedicated parking for the open side, which is the commercial and retail side, and the parking for the residents is going to be fenced in the back. Part of this project and my commitment to town of Dumfries, which has been for years, is still there. And therefore, I have proposed to the staff that we come up with the proffers which are more for public improvements than anything else. Because the three significant things which I have personally stepped up to do, one is on Main Street. If you look outside, you will notice that we have those colonial lights only on one side of the street. So Will and I talked about it, and Will has suggested that let's put those similar lights on the other side of the street, which is, the warehouse, the furniture store side. And those types of lights will be from Canal till we go up to Duke, which is one more block after Whiskey Street, which is right in front of you. So that's one of the initiatives which we are doing. And Janae is working very closely with me so that we can take it to the Dominion Power and get the right paperwork moving. The second initiative is, of course, we have often talked about what can we do for the town of Dumfries people. And there is a Garrison Park property right behind the town hall. There, it can have many uses on it. For the last many years, I've seen that at one time, that property was part of my portfolio. It was cleaned up and the old beaten up bleachers were removed. And then the town maintained it to what we see today as an open field. But is that field really being used? Yes, it is. Yes, it is used. It is used for only occasions such as a fair, etc. Twice a year or maybe 3 times a year. What I am proposing is let's make it more useful for all spectrum of people at all times. And part of that, if you remember, Mr. Mayor, there was at one time a big initiative in town to have Saturday night movies or Friday night movies. And I'm sure we all will, in the next year or so, be out of the 6 foot away distance sensitivity, and we can have those movies back there. And for that, we are proposing that we can build a small auditorium to accommodate about 100 people and, have a projector and a TV screen, and not a TV screen, but a movie screen, because you will need a bigger than that, and have another initiative going on. That park in the back could also have additional a trail which will be joined into whatever happens down the road, because with the initiation of a Route 1 widening project, there is a trail on the side of Route 1 which can connect to other trails within the town of Dumfries. And a trail back there in Garrison Park or even behind the first town center project would be an added attraction. And I have mentioned all this to the staff, who are encouraged, but at the same time, they have reservations to how to make sure, Pete, you do it. And we are developing what we would call the proffer statement to make that happen. Part of the improvement in the Garrison Park is also a small barbecue area, etc. Another item which we have often talked about and we are strongly investigating is, if you look outside your door, out to the town hall, there is a small blue sticker saying, hey, this is where the bus stop is. Yes, today buses only run from north to south. tomorrow when we have this place, Main Street redeveloped, revitalizes, I encourage the town council to work with the PRTC to have traffic buses going north and south, because this is where the destination is. To support that effort, we are working to see where can we put a bus stop. The bus stop which you see in a old town picturesque environment, not what PRTC gives you at the other end of Route 1 or in Prince William County. So I'm trying to find something a little more attractive, which will fit well with the image, and the image is the town hall building. Something which will suit in that environment, because we do see down the road as the town expands and the initiative taken on various sides that there is more traffic coming to the town hall. As a matter of fact, so over the last 5 years, I certainly have realized that since the day DMV opened up, DMV Select, that there is more people coming to the town hall building. When can this project be done? Let's talk about that too. We are now in the final planning stages. Will is targeting to get this thing to the town council sometime at the August town council meeting for an initial okay, so that subsequently a public hearing can be scheduled. With that said, it looks like we are at least about 120 days away from getting the town council consent. After the consent is given, we will go through with staff in the detailed site plan engineering, which takes another 90 days or so. Luckily, with the new rules of the game, the site plan is only a planning function. And then, of course, it'll take another middle of winter, early spring is when we can break ground on the current schedule where we are today.
Well, thank you for that spirited presentation, Mr. Singh. I'm going to open it up for council just to see if they have any questions or feedback for you at this particular time. Council, does anybody have anything for Mr. Singh on his presentation? Okay, seeing no discussion, we thank you for just updating us on where you are on your project, and we look forward to seeing whatever you present to the town and the staff for us to look at in the future. Thank you for your time today.
In the near future, I will make hard copies of the presentation and drop it off in each one of your inboxes.
All right, we look forward to it. All right, next on the agenda is action item. There will be the first one is a motion to direct the town manager to facilitate with OmniRide, which is our PRTC, Potomac and Rappahannock Transportation Commission, to create a position for representation from the town of Dumfries. Councilwoman Neville, the floor is yours. But we have to unmute yourself.
All right, let's try that again. I said, thank you, Mayor. And this is actually discussion with action. So, you know, this item is presented in the spirit of preparing the town for future growth and development that we are definitely moving towards. In order to do so, we need to be represented at all tables that play a role in our growth. We need to be positioned to win. Okay. And a part of that involves having a town-specific seat at the PTRC board. And I want to be very clear. That doesn't mean that one of us is appointed because they have a vacancy. It means that there is a town seat, just like there are seats for a member of Board of Supervisors. There are seats for City of Manassas is represented there. The City of Manassas Park. The towns are not, and the particular town I'm concerned about is town of Dumfries. but there are different avenues that we can direct or the town manager can use in order to secure a town seat. If that's the towns coming together, which I am all in support of the towns, the 4 towns in the county coming together, working towards town initiatives, I think that's wonderful. But right now, I just want to be very clear. It doesn't mean someone is calling Mayor Wood or we have one appointment. It's a town seat about town issues, about things that the town needs. And I want to reiterate, Route 1 widening is coming. Everybody better get ready for it. And in order to be positioned to win, we need a seat at that table. So I will go ahead and make the motion to direct the town manager to facilitate with OmniRide, excuse me, and PTRC to create a position for a representative from the town of Dumfries.
Second.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Neville and second by Councilwoman Miles to direct the town manager to facilitate OmniRide PRTC to create a position for representation from the town of Dumfries. Not the towns, but the town of Dumfries. Is that the motion or is it for? Okay, so town of Dumfries. You want to make
Mr.
sure.
Mayor, if I might, Mr. Mayor,
All right, Ms. Pandak.
I have not looked at this matter thoroughly, but I did want to just let the town know that OmniRide is a commission based on jurisdictions that have gas tax revenues. And it may be that the towns would not legally qualify to be on the commission. So we'll look into that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask the town manager to look into it, but I just want to tell you that there may be a statutory impediment because of the nature of what the commission is, which is primarily for the distribution of gas tax revenues.
Thank you for that insight. I was going to ask that question to the town manager to find out if there was a financial commitment to being on that board or we had to contribute. So, Councilwoman Neville?
Yeah, one other thing I'd like to point out since we're talking about financial commitments, is there an income with our citizens getting on these buses in the town of Dumfries paying towards that commission? So I'd like for the town manager to determine that as well. And he may, if he knows the answer, he can share that. I'm just curious to know if there's any kickback for having the bus stops in our town.
Okay. That's a great. Okay. Any other discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Vice Mayor Nickerson, unmute yourself.
Okay. I just wanted to say that in addition to finding that out, we may, because we have representation from our district supervisor, so it may also be worthy of a conversation with that office, just because we know that our district supervisor works so diligently to represent us as a town as well. So in the event that we are not able, because of the structural impediments, if we are not able to get that seat, then town manager, if that's the answer you get back, could you please then take the next step without having to come with us to initiate a conversation with the supervisor so that we can ensure that she is clear on what our wants and desires are, so we can ensure that she's representing the town, you know, the way that we would like to see it represented.
Yes, ma'am. I'm happy to look into this matter completely and bring back a resolution to the council.
Thank you.
All right, so there's any further discussion on this motion that's on the floor? All right, so there's a motion on the floor made by Councilwoman Neville to direct the town manager to facilitate OmniRide PRTC to create a position for representation for the town of Dumfries. Second by Councilwoman Miles. Seeing no further discussion, Councilwoman Neville.
Aye.
Councilwoman Willis. Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Councilwoman Willis.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
And it's a yes from me. The motion carries 5-0, town manager. All right, next on the agenda is an initiating resolution for amendments to Chapter 70, Article 4, Site Plan Ordinance. Will Capers III, Director of Planning and Community Development. Sir, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the Town Council. My name is Will Capers. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development with the Town of Dumfries. If you allow me, I will share my screen to share the presentation for the next two agenda items. The first item is a resolution to initiate amendments to Chapter 70, Article 4 of the zoning ordinance, also known as the site plan provision of the zoning ordinance. In accordance to 70-646, the Town Council through resolution can initiate amendments to the zoning ordinance whenever the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, or good zoning practice is required. As previously noted, this resolution will authorize the Town Council to initiate amendments to Chapter 70, Article 4, the site plan guidelines of the zoning ordinance. As provided on the screen, specifically, the Town Council will consider amendments to the site plan provision that will designate the Director of the Department of Planning and Community Development as an agent for the review and approval of site plan applications, to establish a length of validity for approved site plans for 5 years, to establish a length of validity for extension of approved site plans beyond 5 years, to establish requirements for the waiver of site plan provisions by the Director of the Department of Planning and Community Development, and to make minor editing amendments. In approving this initiating resolution, the Town Council will authorize the Planning Commission to hold a public hearing to review and make recommendations on these proposed amendments to Chapter 70, Article 4 of the Town Code. This item will be heard at the Planning Commission regular scheduled meeting on July 27th, 2020. Also, in improving this initiating resolution to allow the Town Council to hold a public hearing to consider these amendments to Chapter 70, Article 4 of the Town Code, as well as the Planning Commission recommendation for these amendments at its regular scheduled meeting on August 5th, 2020. This concludes my presentation of this resolution. I am happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Yeah, can we read through, I guess, a couple of the proposed changes so that we can maybe get questions as we go along? I think it was some questions on some of the things. And let me just double check. Vice Mayor, did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I do have questions, so you go ahead and proceed and
You're like, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Yeah, can you go through some of the, I don't know if you got that resolution you can pull up, but we just want to just go through these strikeouts and some of these changes and have some discussion about it.
Mayor,
Yes, Councilwoman DeVille.
I just have it's kind of overall question.
Okay.
Was there any insight, like has this been reviewed by the Planning Commission? Was there any insight provided by the Planning Commission?
Councilwoman DeVille, this resolution is to initiate these amendments so it could be reviewed by the Planning Commission and provide a recommendation.
Oh, so you're going to get their insight later. Okay.
Yes, they will review it like any other zoning action, and they will provide their feedback and recommendation.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. Was you able to pull up the code or do you want me to?
Yes, I do. I have it pulled up, Mr. Mayor.
All right. All right. If you could just put it on the screen. I know that the
I'm sorry, you want me to pull it up on the screen? Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor,
so,
if I may add, the provisions that we are asking to amend are on the screen now. These are the main provisions and the only provisions that we're amending. Was there specific language you would like to go over?
So what about the link? You're showing what we're amending, but what about the stuff we're striking out as well?
Okay, I will try to pull that up. I'm using two screens, Mr. Mayor, so I have it pulled up on my other screen. I'm trying to.
All right, so while you pull it up, I'll read the first thing while you're trying to pull it up. Site plan on the article here. You're asking to strike out the waiver of requirements. It says any requirements of this article may be waived by the council where the waiver is not adverse to the purpose of this article and the applicant establishes that in his specific case, an undue hardship will result from strict enforcement of this article or that the requirement is unreasonable. And I think you're asking to strike out that entire paragraph. Yeah, there you are. Right there. That's it right there.
Mr. Mayor, in part, the purpose of this amendment in part is to streamline the site plan process to be an administrative process, similar to what you may have with the building permit process, is to streamline this process for better service delivery. So essentially, to your question, we're striking out that waiver requirement because we, in working with the attorneys to develop it, we didn't see we didn't think that it was adequate and consistent to keep that at the top. If you scroll to the bottom, town manager, we've just replaced that waiver requirement, but the only thing we changed about the waiver requirement is that we're allowing the director of planning to have that ability to waive any provisions of the site plan. So we're not striking it out. We're just moving it in that instance, and we're asking the town council to designate the director of planning community development the ability to waive provisions.
All right, so I'll take any questions or feedback on that, and then we'll move on. All right.
That section, Mr. Town Manager, may be towards the end of the document. I think we put it towards the end. Yep.
I have a question.
Okay, Councilwoman Willis.
Can you give me an example where you would use a waiver?
Oh, absolutely. So in the review of a site plan, for instance, and I know I kind of bored the council members with my references to transportation, but that's where my background is. For instance, if the applicant needed to waive a design provision for a driveway, for instance, if the requirement was 30 feet, I'm just using just numbers, but if it was 30 feet, but they were making this, and 30 feet was the requirement for a two-way driveway. If they were creating a one-way driveway and they wanted to shorten that to, well, say if it was a two-way driveway that they needed to shorten it in order to, to limit certain vehicles from entering that driveway, such as larger trucks, that's something that we will evaluate to waive. So any provision that's outlined within or any requirement that may be provided or may be needed for a site plan to be acceptable, this gives the director the ability to waive certain provisions based on an evaluation of some sort of justification provided by the applicant.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, Councilwoman Miles.
So right now, how does this process look? If an applicant needs a waiver, how are they granted a waiver? Do they just apply for a CUP?
No, the waiver, as Mr. Mayor stated earlier, the waiver is provided by the council. So currently, the process is that this is a legislative process, as you will, that the council has to approve, or they have approved site plans. If a waiver is needed, the town council has the authority at this time to waive provisions, kind of similar to what I described, but that's the current process.
So when an applicant is needing a waiver, it's accompanied by a recommendation from your office, correct?
Correct. My office and all, yes, correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Okay, Vice Mayor, then Councilwoman Willis.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vice.
So as I'm reading through some of the strikeouts and things, I'm glad I can see this, because the original question I was going to have is, what are we changing it from? So now that I can see it, it shows me that any place it said administrator now says director of planning and community development. I don't have a problem with that. The things that are kind of jumping out to me, though, is what was once item F, which is on the screen right now. The administrator shall submit final site plans to the planning commission. That's striked out. And then the next one, where the director, which used to be administrator, will now be director of planning and community development, forward the plan to council at the next available meeting. So what's concerning to me there is it appears as though the planning commission is being removed from the process. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If that's what it is, then I don't agree with that. And then my second question is, when you said in order to streamline the process, I assume that's why there's a strike through with regard to providing the application to council at its next meeting, because that could be 2 or 3 weeks after the applicant. And so I understand it shortens the time, but it also, once again, appears as though council is being taken out of the process. Is that what I'm reading? And if so, why?
Well, just to give you a little of background, the Virginia Code authorizes or provides, it allows the legislative body of a jurisdiction the authority to appoint an agent for the approval of site plans and also subdivision plats, which we will talk about next. For some reason, and I don't have this information because I wasn't around, the council at some point designated their self. What we asked them to do to streamline it to be consistent with Virginia law and with general practice of providing a land use process where it's an administrative process instead of a legislative process. So I wouldn't use the term we're removing the council. We're actually complying with the state guidelines and requesting that the council designate an agent for the B approval. Now the code, and I will defer to Ms. Pandick on this, the code actually allows the council to designate the planning commission or an agent. And like I said, consistent to other jurisdictions, we're requesting that the council designate an agent for streamline purposes and also for better service delivery for the reasons that you stated, Councilwoman or Vice Mayor, in terms of processing.
Mr. Mayor, if I might add to what Mr. Capers has said, with which I totally agree. I understand that oftentimes there is the concern that that somehow public input is being eliminated, but legally speaking, not practically speaking, legally speaking, it is confusing to me right now, and perhaps to the public and to the council, to believe that you have the abilities that you would have legislatively on a rezoning with respect to site plans and, as we'll talk about later, subdivision plans. Those are ministerial administrative acts. It is more or less checking the boxes of your ordinances to see whether compliance is there or not, and not the discretionary input that you would have on, say, a rezoning or on the comprehensive plan as the planning commission or as the town council. So I think not only does it streamline it, by making it consistent with state law, it adds clarity to and keeps the town from being held responsible for not doing the checking of the boxes and instead getting into, do we like the project type questions.
Okay. If I may ask one follow-up question, please, to Ms. Pandak. Everything you said makes perfect sense. I appreciate that explanation. Take me back a little bit, though, to if this is not going in front of the Planning Commission anymore, does that negate the purpose of the Planning Commission?
Oh, no, absolutely not. The Planning
Okay.
Commission will be looking at rezonings. The Planning Commission will be advising you on comprehensive plan amendments.
Okay.
It will reduce their items that they would deal with, but it does not at all negate the Planning Commission.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Was there anything else you wanted to point out on that, Mr. Capers? Outside of that, I think we highlighted all of the changes where the director, become the designee and not the planning commission, and streamlining the process.
Yeah, just to clarify, the designee at this current time is the town council.
Okay.
Has never been the planning commission.
Okay. All right.
I have a question.
Okay, Councilwoman Willis.
and I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying this to be, Mr. Capers, do you have the expertise to do this for us? As far as, having all this run through what you're, with your site plan on top of everything else that you're doing?
Are you asking if I have the educational and experience to do this?
The staff or the
Well, I mean, it's a lot more on your plate. Or were you doing this already? And then now we're gonna, we're giving you the opportunity to the process be streamlined and help you out as far as, being able to go forward with this.
If I understand your question correctly, I would just a point of clarity. You asked me if this is too much to add to my. So currently, during this process, the way it is done now, I review site plans. I provide recommendations to the town council. The only thing I will change is, in addition to my review, my evaluation, I will also be able to approve or disapprove site plans.
So actually, this particular clarification is actually helping you rather than you get to a certain point and then you have to hand it off. It completes the process.
This will, as Ms. Pandek said, this will not only make us consistent with the state law, it will also help the citizens of Dumfries by making this a more streamlined process of having it done by staff.
Great, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right, I think this is a great spirited discussion. I was glad we were able to have it. Anybody have anything else to add to the conversation? Mr. Rogers, it looked like you were itching. Did you have anything to add, sir? No, you're good.
Oh, no, sir.
All right. All right, so the requested action is to move this to a public hearing? Let me go. So requested action.
Sir.
Okay, say again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's because you want to change the ordinance. All right, so there's requested action to schedule a public, to initiate the resolution for amendments to Chapter 70, Article 4, Site Plan Ordinance. All right, you need that by motion. All right, so I welcome a motion from the floor.
A motion to approve action item B, resolution for amendments to Chapter 70.
A second.
All right, so it's been motion by Vice Mayor and second by Councilwoman Willis to for action item B to initiate resolution for amendments. All right, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to call for the question. Councilwoman Neville.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Councilwoman Willis.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
All right, Mayor Wood, that is a yes. The motion carries 5-0. Next on the agenda is a resolution to appoint Kelvin Noe to the Planning Commission. Mr. Capers, the floor is yours, Director of Planning and Community Development.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'm not sure if I'm looking at the same agenda. Are we going into the next resolution to initiate the Chapter 54?
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I skipped over. Let's go back. Yep, we're going to actually go into C, initiate resolution for amendments to Chapter 54, Subdivision Ordinance. The floor is yours, Mr. Capers.
All right, just want to share my screen again. Kind of looks similar. It's just a different ordinance of the town code. But the second item is a resolution to initiate amendments to Chapter 54 of the Code of Dumfries, also known as the Subdivision Ordinance. This resolution will authorize the town council to initiate amendments to Chapter 54 of the town code. Specifically, the town council will consider amendments to the subdivision guidelines that will, again, designate the Director of Planning and Community Development as the authority to review and approve subdivision application as the agent for the town council. Establish a length of validity for approved subdivision plats for 5 years. Establish a length of validity for extension of approved and recorded subdivision plats beyond 5 years, and to make minor editing amendments to Article 4 of the zoning code. In approving this resolution, the town council will authorize the planning commission to hold a public hearing to review and make recommendations on these proposed amendments to Chapter 54, the subdivision ordinance of the town code. This item will be heard at the planning commission regular scheduled meeting on July 27th, 2020. Also, in approving this initiating resolution, this will allow the town council to hold a public hearing to consider these amendments to Chapter 54 subdivision ordinance of the town code, as well as the planning commission recommendation of these amendments at its regular scheduled meeting on August 5th, 2020. This concludes my presentation of this resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
All right, Vice Mayor.
I would like to, Ms. Pandak, could you please just confirm for us that this too aligns with the standards, the Virginia standards?
Yes, Vice Mayor, this is also in accordance with state law. I did not do these particular amendments, but my partner did, and I'm comfortable that they're done in order to bring in the code into compliance. And again, it has the same issue with respect to being administrative and ministerial as opposed to legislative.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking. And Town Manager, can you just put it up on the screen again, just so the public can see that ordinance? You know, we can see some of the strikeouts. I think that, again, you just see that planning commission is striked out. You see a designee up there. But this is a pretty lengthy one. So, all right. Is there any other questions that anybody else has about this one? This looks pretty standard in this one.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
It could go to either Mr. Capers or Ms. Pandak. One of the things in section 54 is 54.6, which is the use of land subject to flooding. We have a lot of floodplain in the town of Dumfries. Is there anything that we need to do to tweak this at all? Because I know that one of the things that we were looking at when we were initially purchasing the new town hall building was a portion of it was in the floodplain.
What Councilwoman Willis, what I will add in regards to the subdivision review process is and also the site plan process. The review is conducted typically by a team of reviewers, myself or representatives in my office, representatives from Public Works, who at that time will review any discrepancies that a subdivision may have to the floodplain or to any other environmental constraints. So I think each parcel and each project is different, but I just wanted to reassure you that through the subdivision process, which is outlined in this ordinance, it gives us the authority to review and to provide conditions or to imply certain requirements in order to maintain the integrity of the environment and other environmental constraints. And that's any other aspects, transportation, land, as you will. But this is a part of the actual review process.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, if I might just add a further response. There was a temptation, partially mine, maybe not Mr. Capers, as we went through to just deal with the issue of agent and compliance and moving this to being a planning function as opposed to a council function, to look at other sections of this ordinance and begin to make changes to it just to update it. And I think we reached a consensus between Mr. Capers and me and my partner not to dabble in trying to make other changes, but to keep these that are before you narrow to the particular issue. So what I would say is, if you think that there are some changes that ought to be contemplated substantively with respect to other sections of the ordinance, such as this one, 54.6, that you might want to just let Mr. Capers know or refer it otherwise to the council for consideration, so that we can come back and look at them in a more substantive way. But we really did try to avoid getting into issues other than the specific one of dealing with who's doing the approvals.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Okay, seeing none, so the requested action is the same to initiate a resolution to schedule a public hearing for the amendments to Chapter 54, the subdivision. All right, so I welcome a motion from the floor.
So moved.
All right, it's moved by the Vice Mayor.
Second.
All right, second by Councilwoman Willis. Any further discussion on the motion on the floor? All right, seeing none, there's a motion from the Vice Mayor to initiate resolution for public hearings on amendments to Chapter 54, the subdivision ordinance, second by Councilwoman Willis. All right, Councilwoman Miles.
Yes.
Councilwoman Willis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville.
Aye.
Okay, Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Wood. That would be a yes. The motion carries for the subdivision public hearing 5-0. Next on the agenda is D. Is that correct? A resolution to appoint Kelvin Noe to the Planning Commission. Mr. Capers, Director of Public Community Development, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is the Department of Planning would like to present a resolution for the town council to fill a vacancy within the town's planning commission. Specifically, this resolution is for the town council to appoint Kevin Noy to the planning commission for a term to expire June 30th, 2023. Staff has carefully considered Mr. Noy's request through the review of an application for appointment and has concluded that Mr. Noy meets the qualification to serve as a planning commission member in accordance to the town's zoning ordinance and the planning commission bylaws. This concludes my presentation for this resolution. I can answer any questions you may have this time.
All right, so is Mr. Noy a property owner or just a resident of the town of Dumfries? Because I think that's probably one of the biggest questions that people generally ask.
He is a resident of the town of Dumfries. That has been verified. The application doesn't add a section where it asks if he's an owner or a renter within the town, but it has been verified that he is a resident.
Okay, it's resident, that's good. Any other questions anybody has about the applicant or anything? All right, well, seeing none, I welcome a motion from the floor to appoint Kelvin to the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Okay, it's moved by the Vice Mayor.
Second.
Okay, second by Councilwoman DeVille. All right, any other further discussion on the appointment? All right, seeing none, there's a motion on the floor to appoint Kelvin to the Planning Commission on a motion made by Vice Mayor Nickerson, second by Councilwoman DeVille. Councilwoman Willis.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeVille.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Wood, that's a yes. Motion carries 5-0. Welcome, Mr. Kelvin, to the Planning Commission, and thank you for being in attendance here at our meeting today and being an active participant tonight. All right, next on the agenda is a resolution naming the basketball courts in Ginn Memorial Park in honor of former Vice Mayor and community activist Willie J. Tony. Councilwoman Miles.
Thank you, Mayor. So in the town of Dumfries, we have a long tradition of honoring those who have served the town, and Vice Mayor Tony is no exception. So at this time, I'm going to read the resolution that was prepared in honor of naming the basketball courts at Ginn Park in his honor. Whereas Willie J. Tony has served on the Board of Zoning Appeals from 2002 to 2008, including the position of Vice Chairman. And whereas Mr. Tony served on the Planning Commission from 2003 to 2008, including the position of Vice Chairman and Chairman. Whereas Mr. Tony served as a council member on the town of Dumfries from July 2008 to June 2016, and his town council tenure included serving in position of Vice Mayor. And whereas Vice Mayor Tony played a vital role in actively promoting opportunities to serve on town boards and commission and ensuring these positions were filled. And whereas Mr. Tony has demonstrated a commitment to developing policies and initiatives that would shape the future growth of the town to ensure the community would be self-sustaining for future generations. And whereas Mr. Tony is a founding member of the Prince William County African American Democratic Committee and has successfully helped to elect African Americans who serve on the town, county, and state level. And whereas Mr. Tony was instrumental in the town's acquisition of the property that ultimately became Ginn Memorial Park, and whereas the town recognizes the significance of Mr. Tony's continual advocacy for youth and the Dumfries community, and now therefore be it resolved by Town Council that the basketball courts within Ginn Memorial Park shall be named Willie J. Tony Courts in honor and celebration of former Vice Mayor Willie J. Tony. And I'd like to make a motion to name the courts in Ginn Memorial Park in memory, not in memory, in celebration of Willie J. Tony.
I'm a second.
Second.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the second on that. Having served with Willie J. Tony, I'm gonna take the mayoral privilege to take the second on that motion. Now we'll open it up for discussion. I just want to say that when I first got elected in 2012, one of the proudest things that I can say that Mr. Tony, our former vice mayor, took pride in, that was that park, that community park. There was nothing for those young people to do in the community. And one of the things he really took pride in, and we talked about the Parks and Recs and recreational program, and he talked about his youth advocacy working in DC. And probably the biggest thing that hurt DC under Mayor Barry's term was when they had to close down all the rec centers because kids didn't vote and they was more concerned about the senior citizens and they opened up their senior care. He saw the impact on Washington, D.C. when they shut down all those youth. So his heart for the youth during that time and really bringing programs. And most people don't know Willie Tony was an avid basketball player himself, and he really made a name for himself out on the D.C. streets playing basketball and shooting the hoops. And so it was one of his pride and joys. And we kind of talked about this idea some years ago, and think that he'll be quite honored to hear that this resolution is being passed in this time for him. And so I'm happy to be a part of this council where we can name something that I think is near and dear to his heart that he'll be able to get to see and smell in this lifetime. Any other discussion? Councilwoman Mouse?
Yeah, and I just want to echo that, and I just want to throw out there, I have had the privilege of knowing Mr. Tony since I was 16 years old. And Mr. Tony, yes, I got you beat, man. And so Mr. Tony has been a part of the Williamstown South Cove community, and he's always prided himself in inspiring the youth in that community and making sure he encourages everybody and making sure that he promoted activism, making sure that he just made you, it just inspired you to be the best that you could be, just so that he can see yourself reflected into what that community has turned into. So it just gives me a great privilege to be able to be a part of this resolution and to just see him honored in this way. So I'm very proud to be able to get this opportunity to do this.
Okay, seeing no further discussion.
Wait a minute.
Oh, okay. There you go, Councilwoman.
I mean, since we're all going, I would just like to talk about when I think, according to my memory right now, I first met Mr. Tony, I believe that was 2008 or maybe the election in 2012. I was in line, and the first thing he said was, "Girl, you got to get involved. I'm glad you out here voting with your son. We have boards and commissions. We have opportunities in the town." So, his work, his legacy of work for youth in the community is impeccable. But I just wanted to speak also on his work and willingness to enlighten and edify adults in our community to get involved. My conversation with him was when I first really, realized that we have our own council in this town. A lot of times people move here and they don't realize we have a council. Mr. Tony does not hesitate to let everyone know that. and to remind them that they play a role in how they can get involved. He always lends out his business cards, his phone number to call him and have those conversations, because he always welcomed us. And honestly, I think a lot of us here, we're here because of Mr. Tony in these seats. So having worked with him, having a co-MC, because that man has never met a mic that he doesn't like, and doesn't like him. And those are both quotes from Mr. Tony. Having emceed with him at several wonderful events in the town. I'm just ecstatic to be serving on the council during a time that we can recognize him and make sure he gets to smell those roses. So thank you, Council Lady Miles, for putting this on the agenda. And I'm just ecstatic to vote in support for this. Mr. Tony, if you're watching, happy belated birthday. And what a wonderful present. And thank you for sharing your gifts.
All right, Vice Mayor Nicholson, the floor is yours.
So I hadn't planned on saying anything, but since this turned into an honorary ceremony for Mr. Tony, as deserving as it is, Councilwoman Neville made a great point. It is because of Mr. Tony that I absolutely attribute to my sitting here in this seat, because similarly to what he said to you, he said to me, get involved and pay attention to what's going on. And he challenged me to do so. And that's why I sit here, because he really is the person that instilled in me, don't just complain, contribute, so get involved. And that's why I sit here today. And I know that he continues to push others that he comes across to be involved, to ensure that we have a voice and a seat at the table when it comes to matters that impact us. And as Councilwoman Neville said, I did not know that we had our own council government here. And he brought that to my attention when he knocked on my door when he was campaigning. And that's when I first met him. And we talked about how and why I should get involved. And he told me, start with the board, get on the boards, and so forth and so on. So if you are watching, Mr. Tony, thank you for cultivating that seed in me. Thank you for continuing to push our youth and our citizens to be involved. And you are a pillar in our community. And I salute you, sir. Thank you for everything that you do. I'm done. Oh, I see Brian.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Just want to note that Councilman Fields has joined the meeting, just for the minute records as we eventually get back to our minutes. Is there any other further discussion? I mean, I think we all got similar stories now that I hear it. Most people don't know that I actually didn't win the first election that I ran, and it was actually, when I wasn't even going to get involved or think twice about coming back again, that he actually came and knocked on my door and sat down with me and told me why he needed me to be in there along that side with him, fighting a good fight and bringing awareness to it. And so, it would probably be no Mayor Wood, absolutely, if there was no Willie J. Tony. So with that said, there's no further discussion. Ms. Fields, were you trying to say something? Or were you just trying to hear us? I think, okay, that's just his neck. All right, there's a motion on the floor for a resolution to dedicate the basketball courts within Ginn Memorial Park to former Vice Mayor Willie J. Tony on the motion made by Councilwoman Miles and seconded by myself.
I think that's been seconded by everybody. Can we note that everybody seconds that? It's second, third, fourth, and fifth. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
I wish we could write a whole bunch of seconds on the motion, but we understand the sentiment there.
Absolutely.
For the sake of Robert, whoever he was, right? All right, Vice Mayor, I'll let you take the first vote.
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville.
Most definitely.
Councilwoman Willis.
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Councilman Fields, are you voting? Okay, yes, it's fine. He says yes. He gives us a head motion. All right, Mayor Wood, that's yes. That motion carries 6-0. Congratulations, Mr. Tony. Town manager, I don't know if we can do this, and I think we can add, because this wasn't in the motion, but if we can find the time. I know that we haven't had this discussion, but we, in public probably hearing, we're not having the fireworks this Saturday, but we are planning to do a fireworks ceremony Labor Day weekend. Maybe we can find some time in between there to get a resolution and a plaque and to do some type of ceremony in the park and have Willie Tony there where we can present this as a council to him. So I don't know if that's going to impact your budget or if you had a budget for that at all. And if we need to talk about that now or move that around or you got that covered.
What I have already discussed with staff once I saw this, if it's amenable to the council, and obviously making sure we do our best to honor former Vice Mayor Tony, would be to is traditionally put name the court on the actual court. So put that on the actual paint on the court, and then do a placard or sign on the enclosed area of the court. And we can accommodate that within the public works budget. And we're already working on that. So if September is the target date, then we will make sure that we are ready.
I'm looking forward to Ginn Memorial Park being one of the parks that's up to represent Willie J. Tony to the fullest, and the Ginn family as well. You know, so I'm looking forward to it being of that park when we have that ceremony. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, next on our agenda is a resolution recognizing and commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Councilwoman Miles, the floor is yours. You have to unmute and start over. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry.
No problem.
All right, so this year we do celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. As all of you know, I am a disabilities advocate. I was a disabilities advocate, which began my journey into public service. The Americans with Disabilities Act was very key in recognizing the rights of individuals with disabilities. And shameless plug, I will be hosting a week-long celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's a virtual celebration. You can follow me on my Facebook page, Councilwoman Salonia Mouse. It will start on July 20th at 6 p.m. And we will start with a history of the disability rights movement. A lot of people don't know that there was a disability rights movement. So we will have a special guest speaker who will break down the history of that movement. And then throughout the week, we're going to celebrate current leaders in the disability rights movement. We're going to celebrate their accomplishments. We're going to talk about how the ADA has impacted their lives and how it has given them the opportunities and opened doors for them to succeed in their lives today, and how we're continuing to fight. That will all build up until a day of action on Saturday, the 25th. And then we're going to have a major celebration on the 26th, which is the actual 30th anniversary of the day the ADA was signed. So now, if I may, I'm going to read the resolution that is presented to you tonight. Whereas July 26, 2020 marks the 30th anniversary of the enactment of the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990, ADA, and whereas prior to the enactment of the ADA, people with disabilities were often segregated and denied equality of opportunity based on fear, ignorance, prejudice, stereotypes, and labels. And whereas the ADA rejects these precepts and instead embraces the precept that disability is a natural and normal part of the human experience, that in no way diminishes a person's right to fully participate in all aspects of society. And whereas the goals of the ADA include equality of opportunity, full participation, economic self-sufficiency, and independent living, and whereas the ADA was enacted because of the concerted, dedicated, and persistent efforts of persons with sensory, physical, and mental disabilities, professionals, and disability-related organizations. And whereas the town of Dumfries recognizes and supports the extension of civil rights protections to all people, including people with disabilities. And whereas the ADA has played a historic role in enabling people with disabilities to fully participate in all aspects of society by removing barriers to employment, public services, public accommodations, public and private transportation, telework, telecommunications, websites, online systems, mobile apps, and other forms of information and communication technology. And whereas every person in the United States, not just people with disabilities, benefit from covered entities adopting principles of universal design with respect to buildings, modes of transportation, websites, and other technologies procured and used by covered entities. And now therefore be it resolved, the Town Council of the Town of Dumfries recognizes and commemorates the 30th anniversary of the enactment of the Americans with Disabilities Acts of 1990. And I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, so it's been motioned by Councilwoman Miles, second by Councilwoman DeVille to pass the resolution to honor the ADA's, what year is this? 50th anniversary?
30th.
30th, sorry, 30th. So I just want to make sure. All right, any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, there's been a motion to for the resolution recognizing and commemorating the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act on a motion made by Councilwoman Miles, second by Councilwoman DeVille. All right, Councilwoman Willis.
Yes, I don't have any discussion. I think this is fabulous. Thank you, Salonia, for bringing this up. Absolutely.
Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Councilman Fields. He gave us a thumbs up. He said it's a yes. Councilwoman DeVille.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
All right, and Mayor Wood, that is a yes. The motion carries 6-0 for us to recognize and commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. All right, on to our introduction items. We have no more action items for tonight. We have a few items that,
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor, you need a stretch break.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. As in line with our healthy eating, active living ordinance, council is entitled to a 5-minute stretch break every hour to get their limbs and to make sure everything is circulating. I have 8:26. We will reconvene at 8:31. All right. So we'll go into a quick stretch break.
Thank you.
And I needed some sparkling water anyway. See if I can give people some It's perfect timing. I forgot I had some stuff on the grill. I had to put some wood on the fire. All right, 8:31. All right, we're gonna bring this meeting back to order here. All right, so next on our agenda was introductory items, and it was an ordinance to vacate a portion of Market Street. And we want to schedule, I guess it's an introduction to schedule a public hearing for Wednesday, August 5th. All right, Town Manager, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir, Mayor. That is correct. This item is related to Mr. Singh's project, and so this is to schedule the public hearing. When it comes back before council on the 5th, it will have.
Oh, the feedback.
Okay.
Councilman Fields, I think you need to, you are muted now. Okay.
All right, everything's muted.
Okay, I was going to say that on August 5th, when it comes back before council, there will be staff recommendation and available to discuss the vacation of the public street. So we're looking for a motion to schedule this item for a public hearing on August the 5th.
So what's the purpose now of vacating Market Street? And for edification for the people, can you just explain to them where Market Street is and if it's a real street or not?
It is a paper street currently.
I mean, well, what does paper mean? I mean, yeah.
It's a paper street, which means you can't see the actual street grid. It's no longer there. What I will say in terms of details, the best way to consider the necessity will be at the public hearing when Mr. Singh can actually show the drawing for the development that would be in relation to Market Street. So that's why I said at that time, there will be the renderings of the project to show council the site and what the implications to the project would be, as well as staff to be able to provide recommendations in regards to its actual vacation based on the project.
Now, previous councils have vacated this, and we had a time frame on it, which the time frame expired, and now the Market Street has now reverted back to the town of Dumfries again, and now here we are again looking to vacate this property to the same developer for, I guess, a modified project. So I just wanted to put that out there because previous councils have already vacated this property once before or twice before, and we've extended the time. And I just want this council to be aware that we have done this before and with the same developer, and he lost his time because the time expired on it. So is there any questions for the town manager about what he's asking of us currently? All right.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Vice Mayor, go ahead.
So if this has been done before, is there a limit on how long the vacation, because I don't know what the proper term would be, how long it's in place, and that's why we're having to redo it?
Ms. Pandek, you want?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I might just briefly, I wasn't involved in the prior vacations, but my understanding was that a time period was put on it in order to see the project progressing. And if the project did not progress, then the need for vacation of this part of the street wasn't there. And the project just did not progress on the schedule that either the developer or the council anticipated, so it expired.
So this ordinance now, I don't even see it in the agenda package unless I overlooked it. If I did, I apologize. But does the current ordinance have an expiration date then in order for the same purposes as before in order to ensure that the project is moving along?
The proposed ordinance is not in the package. My assumption is going to be that when it comes back to you, the the town manager with appropriate staff will advise you whether or not there's a need to have a time period. I expect there will be, and then roughly what that should be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? So you're asking us to schedule the public hearing and then get the recommendation from the town staff at the public hearing. Is that the expectations here?
That is correct. We asked Mr. Singh to bring to give a presentation tonight so that council could hear from him before there was any action related to any items related to his project. And so he has requested this, and so this is being done at the developer's request. And so when we bring the item back, as I said, we will have the details in terms of drawings as well as a recommendation from staff regarding this vacation.
Okay, Councilwoman Willis.
For some reason, I don't know, you refresh my memory, Mr. Mayor. Wasn't there something about the sale of it? There was something that had to do with money the last time we did this, and I cannot remember the specifics on it.
Yeah, we had some blighted property that was up, and we was forced to pay for demolishing that policy.
Correct.
Then we sent him a bill, and Mr. Rogers has informed me that he has since paid all his debt in full to the town for demolishing all of that blighted property. And I think is his property in blight now. He's been maintaining the grass and all of that good stuff, so on and so forth down Main Street. So I guess he's in good standing, free and clear. But the whole reason why we wouldn't talk to him before is because he did have that blighted property, and we did have to go in and clean that up and tear that down.
Okay, all right. But there's something else, and I can't remember, but I will by the time the public hearing runs around. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Any other, Councilwoman Neville?
Yes, Mayor. I just have a clarifying question for you. You mentioned that this had happened before. Was that with his initiative?
Yes, it was. He's been the developer on this property the whole time.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion on moving this to a public hearing? All right, seeing none, the town manager is looking for, so you don't need anything from us at this time? You just want to let us know that a public hearing, or do we need to?
A motion, yes, sir. A motion to schedule the public hearing.
Okay, so he's looking for a motion so we can advertise a public hearing to vacate this Market Street.
So moved.
Okay, been moved by Councilwoman Willis. Is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay, second by the Vice Mayor. Any further discussion on the motion to schedule a public hearing for the vacation of the town's own Market Street? All right, seeing none, we have a motion on the floor to schedule a public hearing on Wednesday, August the 5th, because I guess we're gonna have National Night Out on August the 4th. All right, so that's why we have the Wednesday one scheduled. All right, so there's gonna be a public hearing on Wednesday, August the 5th, to have a public hearing to vacate a portion of Market Street on a motion made by Councilwoman Willis and second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. All right, Councilwoman Willis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mouse?
Aye.
Councilwoman Neville?
No.
All right, Vice Mayor Nickerson?
Yes.
And Mayor Wood is gonna also be a no, and the motion carries 3-2. All right. Next on the agenda is an ordinance to authorize the town manager to execute a purchase and assignment of rents and lease of town telecommunication facilities, which is located at 3460 Canal Road. And this is also to schedule a public hearing on the same day, August 4th. Mr. Rogers, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So the ordinance that we're asking for the public hearing is related to the town-owned cell tower facility. The town has received an unsolicited offer for the assignment and of rents and lease for that cell tower. This is the deal that I first discussed to the council during the discussion on the capital improvement plan. So this is to schedule a public hearing to allow us to advertise this deal, open it up for bids, and to be able to entertain additional bids and or accept the current deal at the August 5th meeting. And so you'll remember the general details of the deal are a $500,000 initial payment with approximately $300,000 over the next 10 years, which would allow us to completely fund our fiscal year 21 capital improvement plan with pay-as-you-go cash. So I'm looking for a motion to authorize a public hearing for this item on August the 5th.
All right. And in full disclosure to council, this is it was unsolicited, but it was one of the vendors that I met when I went out to the National League of City trip in LA the year prior, who was in the telecommunication business, and they was looking for people with cell towers. And so this was one of the vendors that I met out there, and they had them talking to Christie for a while. And then I think the town manager, I think Ms. Pandek, took over and got involved with them. And so they actually made offers. Is that right, Ms. Pandek?
That is correct. I might also note that pursuant to your current agreement, the current lessee is allowed to have a right of first refusal, and we have triggered that conversation as well. And as the town manager noted, we have to advertise this both once we get the final offer from the unsolicited bidder, and know that we will advertise that so that if anyone else wants to put in a bid, they will be able to do that for your August meeting.
Absolutely. So that's good. So all bidders have heard the terms of the agreement. We're accepting all offers for the public hearing. All right. Any other discussion on or questions for the town manager about what's at stake? Okay, seeing none, he's looking for a motion to schedule a public hearing to execute a purchase and assignment of rents and lease. So now let me get this clear. The agreement on the floor is not really a purchase, but they're going to pay us a down payment and then pay us rent over the next 10 years, or is this a lease to own agreement?
Oh, the town will retain ownership.
So the town will retain ownership. So whoever's making offers, we're going to retain ownership, and this is going to be a deal. Yeah, I don't think nobody else is going to come with a better deal, but we welcome these deals. I just want to make sure that the public telecommunications people listening understand we're retaining ownership of this, and we're renting this out, and we're leasing it for this amount of money for the next 10 years. I think this is a tremendous deal. Councilwoman Neville.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the public hearing as stated.
Okay, this motion, is there a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Miles. Discussion, Councilwoman Willis. You're on mute. You're on mute. We can't hear you. You have to rewind and start over.
All right. No, I do not have any discussion. I think it's fabulous.
Okay, good deal. All right, so seeing no further discussion, Mr. Fields was out. Now he's back in for this vote, for the record. All right, so the motion on the floor is to schedule a public hearing for the town manager to execute a purchase and assignment of rents and lease of town telecommunication facilities on a motion made by Councilwoman Neville. And second that? Councilwoman Miles, you second that? Okay, Councilwoman Miles second it. All right, seeing no further discussion, Councilman Fields. Yes. Councilwoman Willis. Councilwoman
Yeah.
Neville.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Mayor Wood is a yes. Motion carries 6-0. All right. Next item on the agenda is an introductory item, ordinance to rename the complete terminus of Confederate Court to Liberty Lane. Councilwoman Neville, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know, America is experiencing a reckoning, and our town is not immune to this. And we're also not immune to the path towards healing that comes after that. The town manager and I have been researching the renaming of Confederate Court for over a year now. As we discussed, we approved a resolution to combat structural racism in June. Now's the time to take another step towards dismantling the intricate web of structural racism. To reach a brighter future, we must help citizens and help everyone that drives through our town and stops in our town. Help them heal by removing such symbols and amplifying the messages of hope, a brighter day filled with peace and unity for all. I encourage the town to change Confederate Court to Liberty Lane. I encourage the council and citizens to support the introduction item C as stated on the agenda. And with that stated, I'd like to make a motion to approve a public hearing on September 15th.
Second.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Neville to rename the complete terminus of Confederate Court to Liberty Lane. Second by Councilwoman Miles. All right, I don't know if I have some legal questions here. And I see I'm glad we scheduled this out 2 months away instead of just next month, and we're doing this in September. What notice are we going to give to the people who currently live on Confederate Court, and what notice do we have to give to the post office for this change for their mail and that type of thing? So that's kind of like my legal or whatever type questions.
I think we're talking about constructive notice. There actually are not notice requirements in the state code, but I've talked to the town manager and I believe he's prepared to give notices to the people who live in the apartments and are otherwise on that court, as well as to the post office. You want to, Mr. Rogers, do you want to address that further?
Sure. As Ms. Pandak had advised when we discussed, while not legally required, we want to make sure that we allow for an appropriate time for our residents to know that the change is coming and to make sure they have time to get certain affairs in order that will impact their address. So with this motion to schedule the public hearing, my staff and I will begin the process of notifying all of the parties that will be affected, and we can provide a update on that to the council by the time of the public hearing, so the council has that information to know what due diligence was done.
And I just want to note during this, amidst of the uprising and us passing this ordinance, I have heard from some citizens that live on Confederate Court who are also in support of a name change already. So they've already initiated communication to want to change the name of the street that they live on. And some of them have been offended for a long time. So I think this is appropriately timed. And I think that, you know, it's good to be able to get some feedback and input. Any other comments about the motion that's on the floor currently to schedule a September public hearing of the renaming of Confederate Court to Liberty Lane? Okay, seeing no further discussion, I'm going to call for the question. It's a motion on the floor to schedule a public hearing on September the 15th in the renaming, to have an ordinance to rename the complete terminus of Confederate Court to Liberty Lane on the motion made by Councilwoman Neville and second by Councilwoman Miles. Is that correct? All right. Councilwoman Miles.
Aye.
All right. Councilman Fields.
Aye.
Councilwoman Willis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Neville.
Absolutely.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
And that's a yes for me. The motion carries 6-0. All right. Our next meeting for the public is going to be Wednesday, August the 5th. And I'm going to assume because our police department is planning and our town staff is planning a national night out on August the 4th, Tuesday, August 4th. Is that right, town manager?
That is correct. We are working on a virtual national night out, so details to come.
All right. So
Oh.
there will be a virtual night out. Okay, we'll talk about that because maybe the police can ride to some of the neighborhoods. All right. So before we go into closed session, anything for the good of the public? Councilwoman Miles, do you have any remarks that you wanted to give to the Republic?
I don't have anything else now.
Okay. Councilman Fields?
And just stay vigilant, stay safe, continue to wear your mask. And, you know, if you happen to protest, make sure it's a peaceful protest. That's it.
All right, that's a good message. Councilwoman Willis?
No, thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Neville? You got to rewind and start over, unmute.
I'll thank you again. So thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
I'll be brief, but I have to, you know, we lost a giant. We lost a giant in our community, and that one hurt. And I would just like to thank the McLaughlin family for always being a pillar of support in this community. They got to smell their roses, and I'm so glad that they did. As you mentioned earlier, I always mention I ran a strong write-in campaign, but we fell short. And during that time, the McLaughlins were so supportive of me. I've always considered them as mentors and role models in this community, and I am ecstatic beyond measure that we got to honor them with that street name. And I hope everyone sees it and thinks to lead the McLaughlin way. And I'm going to wrap that up real quick because I'm a Pisces. I'm very emotional, and that one, it hit me hard when it hit. So my heart, my prayers are with that family right now. Also, I want to encourage everyone watching this, everyone in town, all the friends of the town, to mask up. Any other time, everybody's claiming Dumfries, so it's okay. Use the hashtag #MaskUpDumfries. Please wear your masks. Parents, anyone involved in the school community, please pay attention. Read, there's an RRR document. It's on my Councilwoman Facebook page. It's also on the Virginia Department of Education. Tune into the school board meeting tomorrow. They are taking, I think they're taking comments tonight, but they have a special meeting tomorrow at 5. You all need to know what's going on. You all need to follow along. You need to read between the lines. The kids do not have to wear masks. It's encouraged, not mandatory. Big difference there. I'm not going to give a vocabulary lesson tonight, but please pay attention. And that's in all levels of education. I know the mayor and I have talked about our children, our grown children, attending college this fall and how that's going to work out. But, you know, please, your health is king. You matter. We want you here. And it seems like a lot of people across the country have forgotten about COVID-19, but COVID-19 has not forgotten about you. So please be safe. And I'm going to go ahead. Mr. Fields, could you please turn your microphone off?
I'm trying. Forgive me.
Okay, so I'm going to try to keep going. But I was going to do a shameless plug. My organization, the Neville Empowerment Network, is organizing in Own Your Power. Usually we take women out to Williamsburg and we go camping and glamping in a retreat area in Williamsburg. And it's all about inspiration and motivation. This year's motivation is to position women to win post COVID-19 when we adapt to our new norm. It is a free complimentary conference. And there's an all-star team being lined up. It's on 2 dates. You can go to that Facebook page. I'll share it to my Councilwoman page. And I'm only sharing it because I know people need encouragement, enlightenment, and inspiration during these times. And that is the whole purpose. If you are looking to win when this is over, that's winning your career, winning your mental health, winning your spiritual health, increase. If you're asking God for increase, I encourage you to tune in. It's free. Thank you so much.
All right, Vice Mayor.
I don't have anything. Thank you.
All right. I too, Councilwoman DeVille said that my comments were going to be about Mr. McLaughlin tonight, and you know, I held off on posting anything socially out of respect for the family, with Mrs. McLaughlin being widowed there, senior citizen. Mr. McLaughlin had recently reached his 88th birthday. For those of you who don't know, and you know, on his birthday, we had we had a pretty lengthy discussion. I think we stayed on the phone about an hour, just joking and laughing, and just talking about the history of this town and where this town come from. And he talked about he was really behind the vision and what this council was doing, and let us know that he was fully supporting a lot of the changes we were making for the better, and he's watched this town over the years, and we were just proud to know Ed McLaughlin and just his heart. He was a straight shooter, you know, from every, you know, campaign I had, no matter when he didn't know me to when he did know me, he would allow me to come by his house, and he would sit me down in his kitchen and just let me know how he felt about this town and what changes he wanted to see in this town. And it didn't matter how much time I had. I would stay there and spend that hour and a half, 2 hours, and just sit there and listen and glean from that wisdom. They've been in this town for so many years, and they just knew so many things from, you know, from bringing the new post office to town to getting the first sidewalks in town. I was looking forward to honoring, and still looking forward to honoring at the Mayor's Ball this year, them as our living legends, because you can't kill a spirit. A spirit just lives on, and I'm so looking forward to still bestowing that honor on them, and just him knowing and being able to have that conversation. It was, I know he didn't like this pandemic and hated being in the house, although he was always urged. He always took his Sunday rides, and he would ride by me every Sunday and just kind of either blow the horn or kind of wave at me. And so, you know, we're definitely going to miss to the entire McLaughlin family. We love you, and this whole community loves you. And it's nothing you can do about it. You can't do nothing about this love. So with that said, you know, look out for the details on National Night Out. We're going to let you know, the public know, about what we're going to do about the fireworks. But the fireworks, we were able to reschedule them to Labor Day weekend. So it's fully funded by some of our community business partners. And so we just got to figure out what we're going to be able to do for the public. And I just want to echo the message behind Councilwoman DeVille. Mask up, Dumfries. Go check out our video that's on all of our social media platforms to see us encouraging our community to mask up for the various reasons. Town Manager, anything you want to say to the public?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Pendek, did you have any final?
I have no comments. I'm ready to help you in your next motion.
All right, good. All right. So, seeing that there's no more, our next motion on the floor is to go into a closed session. I got to scroll back to the top. Sorry. All right. It's a closed session under Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711 Alpha 1 and 7, personnel and probable litigation. And
yes, and if I might then, Mr. Mayor, just some slight changes based on my discussion with the town manager. I believe it is actual litigation, not potential. Am I correct, Mr. Rogers?
Yes, sir.
And,
yes,
and we should be citing the case, which is Jackson versus Town of Dumfries. It's a circuit court case 18-9968.
Okay. Jackson versus Town of Dumfries. And give me the last part of that, please.
The circuit court case, case number 18-9968.
Okay. All right. So whereas the Town of Dumfries desired to discuss a particular subject in closed session during the course of its meeting of July 7, 2020, and whereas the nature of the subject is discussion of personnel matters in consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members pertaining to actual litigation on Jackson versus Town of Dumfries Circuit Court Case 18-9965.
Thank you.
68. Sorry, 68. Where such would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture in public, the discussion in closed meeting is expressly permitted by Section 2.2-3711 Alpha 1 and Alpha 7 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council of Dumfries does hereby convene in closed session in the purpose herein expressed pursuant to the legal authorities herein recited on a motion made by myself. Second by Councilwoman Miles. The following resolution. Is there any questions to the motion on the floor? All right, seeing no discussion, the following resolution is going to be adopted. You had a question? Councilwoman
Yes.
Miles?
Can we discuss additional personnel issues in closed session, or do we have to only discuss this case?
Actually, if I might, Mr. Mayor, we need to identify the matters for which we go into closed meetings. So there are two matters right now. One is a personnel matter, and one is actual litigation. I think I know what the actual litigation is. I think I know the personnel matter, and it qualifies. It would be helpful for me to know in advance before the meeting what you want to discuss, so that I can make sure that it meets the requirements for closed meeting. If Councilwoman Miles, if you have a personnel matter, we can go in for that. I may have to tell you once we get in that it doesn't qualify, in which case we'll come out.
Okay.
So there would be two personnel matters and one actual litigation.
Okay. All right, so the motion on the floor is to adopt the resolution to go into closed session based on what we cited. On the motion made by myself, second by Councilwoman Miles. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, Councilwoman Neville?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miles? Willis?
Aye.
Miles, yep, I got both.
Yes.
Miles. Okay, and then Councilman Fields?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion carries 6-0. All right, we will now convene in a closed session. All right, we're gonna say goodbye to our attendees.